In this video, I will try to answer 3 questions. How is Omicron different than other variants? Can it mutate into something worse? And lastly, what effect will it have on lives, prices, and the overall economy? So, how is Omicron different? At the moment of recording, a few things are certain. Omicron is far more infectious than Delta, or rather any variant we have seen before. Also, it's not harmless. There have been documented cases of people losing their lives. But there are good news. The latest research shows us 2 things. One, vaccines still offer protection. And 2, Omicron is significantly milder than other variants. Let's examine that last point, because it could be the key to predicting where this pandemic is going. So I could just show you a news headline, say that I've proved my point, and called it a day. But we can be more ambitious than that. Let's try to actually understand the virus. So we will look into a study by the University of Hong Kong. So they prove that the virus replicates 70 times faster in the pathways leading up to the lungs. But it is 10 times less common in the lung tissue itself. This could explain both why the disease is so infectious and also why it's not causing as many severe cases and deaths. You could say that's nice and all, but how's the situation in the real world? To answer that, we can look at 2 very different countries. So, first, South Africa, where the virus variant originated. We can clearly see that there was a massive spike in new cases. But the interesting thing is that it was not followed by a significant increase in deaths or hospitalizations, meaning, without a doubt, that Omicron is less severe. Of course, this does not mean, and I want to repeat this, that Omicron is harmless. When comparing South Africa with other countries, there are things that we should be aware of. The country, on average, has a very young population. Also, it's in the southern hemisphere, meaning that it's currently summer. And from what we've seen before, it's significantly easier for the virus to spread during winter. But there are other factors. South Africa has a low vaccination rate. So overall, there are pros and cons that are true for South Africa, but might not be for other countries. Still, the fact that there wasn't a massive hospitalization wave after the spread of Omicron tells us a lot about the virus. From South Africa, Omicron first spread to the United Kingdom. So let's look at the situation there. It could tell us what will happen in other countries in the Northern Hemisphere. Like with South Africa, we see a massive spike in cases. We can also see that the spread of the virus has slowed down. Now, if this was Delta, it would be followed by a massive wave of hospitalizations and deaths. Now, this was not the case. The number of patients in intensive care has remained stable. Now, let's look to other countries. According to the World Health Organization, half of Europe will have Omicron in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Following the examples we have seen so far, we can expect significantly lower numbers of the worst kinds of cases. I want to point something out. Even if Omicron saves far more lives than it takes, every person in the hospital is a tragedy. And for the 5 people that will watch this video, I hope you're well. Another important question is, can Omicron mutate into something far worse? It's impossible to say for certain, but it looks to be not very likely. First, we need to understand how mutations work. Viruses don't mutate everywhere at the same time, like in Plague Inc. Mutations happen randomly at different individual viruses. So, if a new mutation that is more deadly happened, it would happen at one random point on the world map. From there, it would need to spread. Notice that Omicron already has such a large infection rate. It's even outcompeting the common cold. It's not very likely that the new virus will be both more infectious and significantly more deadly than the current variant, especially when we consider how viruses spread. Person A has a virus that spreads easily and doesn't cause a severe sickness. And person B has a virus that may spread even faster, but it causes a severe sickness. Notice that person B will stay home, isolate themselves, warn their friends, and so on, while person A will go out and spread the virus. In order for the mutation to outcompete Omicron, it would need to mutate in a way that makes it far more infectious and at the same time significantly more severe. This is simply not likely. The very successful diseases are the ones that evolve in a way that makes them less dangerous over time, because it makes it easier for them to reproduce and spread to more people. Now, am I saying that the common cold is a more successful virus than the plague? Yes, definitely. So, for all those reasons, a new deadly variant of Omicron is not very likely. If I'm not really wrong about some of the things said in the video, and I hope I'm not because I currently have the virus, Omicron will save far more lives than it will take. This is especially true in developing countries where large parts of the population are still not vaccinated. It will become a common virus that we will have in the years to come. Now, what about its impact on the economy? So even before the scientific findings on the variant were published, many institutions were very pessimistic. It is very likely that in the short term, fear of this new variant will cause disturbances in supply chains. This will both increase transport costs and will mean that less goods are traded overall. A result of this, combined with other factors, will most likely lead to high inflation. In everyday terms, this means that prices will be rising in the first half of the year. In the long run, however, if nothing changes, this could take us out of the pandemic, meaning stable supply chains, lower transport costs, more trade, and less uncertainty. These are the factors necessary to create an environment with lower inflation and with stable economic growth. So maybe for the first time in this pandemic, we've actually had some luck. And for the 3 people still watching, I'll be making new videos in the future if I survive the virus. I also want to share a story with you. So my friend is a molecular biologist with a master's in immunology. So I asked her, is it possible to engineer the virus to be both highly infectious and less severe? She said we would never do that. And I continued, is it possible? And to that she said, technically yes, but... And at that moment I stopped listening. Is this video actually about me telling you that Omicron was created by a group of scientists trying to save the world? Yes, that's the main takeaway from this video. Bye, have a nice day.